Hey, everybody, it's Winter with the Shift Spotlight. And today we're here with Carlos Frank Rodriguez, and he can be found at theparachutegroup.co. Welcome to the show, Carlos.
Thank you for having me, Winter.
All right, so I like to start off with a little bit of fun every once in a while. Can you tell us one interesting fact about you that not many people know?
Let's see. I had to pick one. Interesting is lead in. I would say I am part of the neurodivergent community.
Okay, so explain that.
So that would be, I recently found out within the last 5 years that I have ADHD. And I feel like that late stage diagnosis at first didn't make sense, but it allowed me to understand some of the trials and tribulations that I've had through life. I'm also a veteran, and initially after my service, which was a really rough transition, I had a fall, went through some, as many of us do, some turbulent times, and would get diagnosed with PTSD, which is just an ugly acronym that is not understood. Neither are veterans, as I've come to find out, but it was the ADHD that allowed me to understand how I can be so excellent in some areas, and it just, who is that in others? So it's been a journey of learning, and we connected on LinkedIn, and that's the only social media platform I really operate on, but it's just been a profound understanding and impact on my life.
Well, I do want to take a moment and thank you very, very much for your service. I know that your background and your history has a lot to do with what you're doing today. And so how does your background and your service parlay into what you're actually doing today?
Yeah, my background is in data systems, deploying and designing digital infrastructure around the world. As technology advanced, not only have we seen it change how society and businesses operate, but we saw it change firsthand how it changed war. And so I'm also, having deployed 4 times to Iraq and Afghanistan, I saw how my background in installing towers, installing real-time communication, this old, they say the military is always about a decade ahead of industry, and industry is about a decade ahead of government and tech. So a lot of this stuff we get to see in advance and play with it. So I say, connecting small specialized units through data was my specialty, providing real-time communication, and that has parlayed into my business. As face value, we're just an IT managed service company, but with post-COVID AI, real-time analytics, decentralizing the technology, we are focused on empowering small businesses in rural communities, which have historically been left behind.
That's funny you say that, because that's actually what we do at the Shift Spot, is all about helping small businesses, because a lot of the people who need help in running a company, they can't afford the big guns. They can't afford the, high level consulting firms that are out there. So we get that. Our heart is in service for those small businesses as well. And especially in this day and age, when so very few of the small businesses out there are making it. You said that, well, so let me ask you this before I move into that question. What has been the hardest part about running your business? So you're the CEO, you're the founder. And I think we all start out with this really great idea. And then all of a sudden we're wearing a bunch of hats that we didn't know we were going to wear. So for you, what's been the hardest part about running your business?
Great question. So I was in the military and the intelligence community from 2002 to 2015. And when I transitioned out, I looked great on paper, and I transitioned into, high paying kind of corporate job. And then I, was forced to take a knee and deal with some mental health issues going on. I would get diagnosed with PTSD and some other acronyms as it was a rough transition out of the military. And so I think when I started a business, it was on accident, right? I had taken some time off to just figure out myself. And I had a neighbor who was a small business owner, and he felt, like you said, he was paying too much to get a I think it was a CRM or an inventory system installed. And he asked if I could just come look at it. And that's when I realized that they were just blatantly taking advantage of my friend.
Wow.
So we removed that small business. I came in and installed it. And for me at the time, it was just fun. And so
Yeah.
that's when I realized that
A
there was a
distraction
need.
even.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
it
oh,
was.
let me just distract myself a little bit.
Yeah, so I would say that was my first interaction into I can use my technical skill sets and do something good. And so I started a business. I had all this great plan, and everything was going to be great. And then um, all of the things that you don't realize that come with being everything when you're a small business came in. So I can say, having gone to war, having spent, a lot of time in some, I would say, high pressure environments, starting a business was the hardest thing and has been the hardest thing I've ever done. And I feel it's only through mentorship, embracing what you don't know, and a willingness to learn. And we started in 2019, right? And we're finally getting ready to scale up and enter phase 2 in 2024. So it has been a journey of, it's not for everybody, I'll say that, but it also has its rewarding moments in periods like this where you can
Yeah, it's
come
not for the
together with
faint of
like
heart.
minds.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not for the faint of heart. And for you to say that between war and starting a company has been harder. Man, that like really just hits me because yeah, I get it, but I can't relate to the war side. I can't relate to being in the military like you. So I know like
What you can relate to is high stress, high pressure environments
that's
and
right.
having a need to put a team around you. When I
That's
started
right.
this small business, I didn't have that team.
Mhm.
I didn't have kind of the pressure testing, the strategy. There were so many, not even known unknowns, just unknowns where like, oh, today I got to find out about corporate structuring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and all I really wanted to do was support small businesses with their data systems, right? And then allow them to integrate technology, talent, and and so that's where I say just the relentless amount of unknowns that come at you. You got to have a strong mindset. And so in many cases, I say business and battle, one tends to have one more honor than the other.
That's a perfect name for a company, Business in Battle. um, so okay, so do you have a leadership team currently, or do you just have staff?
So that's a good question. I've had a series of advisors that have been around me since this formed. So we're going through right now as we scale into phase 2, bringing on a leadership team, bringing on a president, some directors, and so they have been around supporting. I couldn't have done it without them, but now they're starting to integrate in as we speak up. So we should have our fully staffed leadership team in place by the end of Q1.
Gotcha. Okay, I've heard you say several times on this discussion, scale, 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 scale. What does that mean to you? What does scaling mean to you?
It means my background as kind of a strategist and project manager, and I've really embraced the essence of strategy. It is, when I first came up with this concept in the beginning, I was excited about it, and I shared it with a lot of people that have stood by me throughout and have been in my corner, advisors, what have you, and it had nothing to do with risk. And so I say it's in the beginning, scale is going out and getting as much information about what you intend to do, using the least amount of resources.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been me kind of really, this has been my full-time focus for 5 years. And when I needed to scale up to go take on, to run out a pilot or something, we would bring on contractors. But it means to, we have defined goals and growth objectives of where we want to be in 2 years, 3 years, even to getting here where we have the opportunity.
So give us one or two of them. Give us one or two of your growth objectives.
Right. So all of this year was spent developing a Department of Labor approved registered apprenticeship program. Mm-hmm. And I myself am a 3rd generation apprentice. My father and grandfather were bricklayers, and out of high school, I remember in 11th grade, my father telling me, you should probably go to college, but I think you're going to need better grades. if that don't work out, join a union. And so that's what I did right out of high school. I joined the sheet metals union out here in Colorado. And after 4 years, I realized that it gets cold in the winter, here in Colorado. So I wanted to go to college. And so I say all that to say, because that was 25 years ago. So 25 years ago, I was an apprentice. 25 years later, we have an IT apprentice company approved by the Department of Labor, approved by the Veteran Affairs. And my mission is to reskill 120 veterans to support 75 small businesses by 2028.
So that's a huge kind of a shift from what you've done in the past. I mean, that's a pretty impressive goal. Where do you think the drive behind that is coming from?
I think that drive comes from character. And so I could say I was brought up in, second of six. My older brother would also join the Marines as a Navy doc, or the Navy as a Navy doc. And I think I've always had this kind of tenacity and drive to punch above my weight class, if you will. I think it was voracious readers, surrounding myself with mentors, but to, some of the things that I've realized about myself as I've gone through the journey of embracing PTSD, post-military transition, and more recently, ADHD, has allowed me to understand why I can be so focused and fixated on reaching an objective. But I was doing it in an unhealthy way. And so, that's another community. So I would say, yeah, the drive has just been fear of failure.
Yeah. You know what fear stands for, right? It's forget everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Yes. And I think, I can say we talked a little bit on paper. As I was transitioning out of the military, I thought I had checked all of the boxes that I needed to have a successful post-military career. Went through the education. I felt I picked up the right assignments, had the right letters of recommendations. What I did not take into an account was the mental health side of it, and how such a radical transition would impact me. And so, I had some, and I say this, and I am very vocal about my experience because so many veterans relate. But beyond that is, we've got to get to a place where veterans and society can integrate and understand what we did as a nation at war for 20 years, right? And how, we're seeing it happen, around the world. And so I'm vocal about, I had some issues with alcohol. I had some issues where I didn't want to keep going forward. And I had to re-embrace I'm 44 now, at 35, 36, starting over. And so it's just been, I fell. A lot of people believed in me, stood by me, are still standing by me. And I think it's, my story is so relatable to veterans and non-veterans.
I agree. It's, and I love how just authentic you are in talking about it. And, a lot of times I think people try to put out their best foot. And I did a presentation today for a bunch of agents who are struggling in business right now. And I was going through and telling them about my year and how I had a surgery this year. And everybody was kind of shocked. And I'm like, look, all you see on Facebook is the good and the happy and the, I got married this year and blah, blah, blah. But really what's going on is, I got all these other things too. And I love how you're just able to put it out there and be real, because we're all going through something at some level, and everybody's challenges are their own and unique and different. But this show is all about helping CEOs, meeting them where they are. If we can give one tip to get somebody further ahead without having to do one of the mistakes we did, then my job here is done. So you talk about scaling, you talk about drive, you talk about, a lot of things of where you're headed and what you're doing. But what are you going to do in the next 6 to 12 months to make your life easier? What are you going to take off your plate so you don't keep piling things on?
Good question. And the most important thing in my life right now is sleep. And
I hear
I've got
that.
a great kind of team, working with the VA and some of the, I've got a great team around me, and, from a cognitive perspective and embracing this newness of what is, kind of neurodivergent, and ADHD and all of those kind of these acronyms. And so what I say in some places, for people that know that about the parachute group but they don't know maybe the details that only recently I've started to share, is that as I am looking to create a company that caters towards reskilling veterans, and a lot of these, I don't care what your background is, how hard you fell, come to us, and reskill, and as a kind of a beacon of light and hope to the neurodivergent community. I would like to think that at some point we're going to run out of veterans. Is that I knew I had to bring in a strong leadership team and a diversified leadership team to create these learning and work environments where people can come here. They can be candid and vocal in what they're going through, but we're still a business. We're not a nonprofit. We're going to stay competitive with as we see kind of the economy changing. And so it's really, as my job as founder and kind of visionary of this company, I had to make sure I had the right butts in the right seats. And I think that's the exciting part, is the delegation of duties, to where I'm not everything I say, from the janitor to the, making the final signatures. It's making sure that as we do scale up, and back to your point on scale, there's going to be kind of defined parameters. And I think that is what the military is good at. That is what I was very, kind of trained in and was able to see happen with success. And so but, managed service companies, IT managed service companies, that's, post-COVID, everybody wants to be remote and add AI and all of that stuff. It's, and we could be very good at that. I decided to make it more complicated and focus on working with small businesses and rural communities, because I know we could do it, but that comes with a lot of trust, creating trust and hearts and minds. And so it's, some complexities, some known unknowns.
Yeah. Well, that's being a CEO and a founder. So where do you see yourself investing resources for growth over the next year?
Creating, so initially I just wanted to, again, be the IT managed service company. And I had no thought on, with respect to scale, how big we can go. As I started looking at why, there's, tech consultants or tech workers, they make a lot of money, and they're really focused though on medium and big businesses. And how can it be medium, big businesses are experiencing so much growth, but small businesses in America and underrepresented businesses in America and rural communities are still left in the Stone Ages? And so as I spent, what I say phase one was from 2020 or 2018 to 2023, figuring out this problem, meeting with small business owners. And I realized it wasn't a technical problem, it was an access problem. And so we really had to engineer, how could I invest upfront resources, say for the first 3 years, to get all of these businesses up to where I know they can be. And so it was developing the talent pipeline. And so I spent all of this year, and as a third-year apprentice, 25 years later, I'm an apprentice again. It was creating a talent pipeline of apprentices. And right now we're focused on reskilling veterans. We will get away from that. And I say that is where, as we're entering to phase two is, building out to these growth objectives, but making sure that our scalability, and we operate as the apprentice, company, and the ownership, or the apprentice and the employer. So we're reskilling our techs. The first cohort of technicians apprentice technicians that we're going to launch, it's going to be 10. It's a year-long program, and we're creating IT project managers. And so it's a year-long program, 200 classroom hours that also covers areas of mental health, resiliency, what is digital equity, and 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. And so I'm really using, veterans to create, kind of the next 4 years is taking my vision, which has been just me, expanding to a leadership team and creating a culture and a foundation that if the vision, my vision is to create a path from apprenticeship to employee ownership.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely onto something here. And I am going to be in your corner cheering your success along the way. If somebody wanted to reach you, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
We're going through a social media and marketing upgrade as we speak right now. So I say right now on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. Our website, I believe, is still up, but that's also going through an update. I say, yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Either myself or Parachute Group has a page there. So I'd say that's for right now the best place. Or email. I think jump@parachutegroup.co is our if you're an investor or you're someone that wants to be part of this program, or you want to go through our apprenticeship program and you want to learn advanced tech, we have a great network of people that have been supporting us, and I say the scale is going to come. The success factor is put in the work and people around this program and plan. Yeah,
I mean, it is. I always say that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. The best thing you can do is surround yourself around a whole bunch of people who know a lot more than you, because you'll get where you want to go a lot faster. So awesome. Right. Well, I love this. I appreciate this so much. Again, the website is parachutegroup.co. Thanks so much for being with us today, Carlos.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.